Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. The Lycan's Last Breath. Episode 12. Chapter 47. Vera, you would think I would have rushed to open this envelope, but I once again hesitate. Sophia reaches her hand out to me, reassuringly squeezing my arm. I turn to her in disbelief. This could be it. This whole plan could have actually worked. Well? Luna Irene asks, impatient. After all, this is also her grandson we're talking about, the only real tie to Ellie she has left. I open the envelope carefully, not wanting to rip anything inside. The paper is yellow, discolored from all these years of improper storage, but still, if this is Ellie's handwriting, I want to preserve it. Inside, there are a couple of official-looking documents, neatly folded in half. I unfold them, reading carefully. My hand flies to my mouth as I read, Noah, son of Lycan King Alexander and Wolf Princess Ellie Goldmoon, of the Goldmoon clan. This is it. This is Noah's real birth certificate. Both Alexander and Ellie signed this with their names and family seals, making it an official document. And Sophia asks beside me. This is it. This is Noah's birth certificate. I tell them, still not believing the words coming out of my mouth. I hand over the document to Luna Irene, who traces her fingers on Ellie's signature and seal. She smiles softly. Yes, this is her signature, she verifies, so, it was all real, she muses. I'm in disbelief. I can't believe we actually found it. The apprehension that had settled in my stomach since leaving the castle and Noah has dissipated. This right here is the key to having a peaceful dissolution of the council. No war, no conflict. Beside us, Alpha Silas grunts, waking from his sleep. Dr. Owens goes to his side, checking his vitals again and making sure he was in fact just asleep. He saw the vision too, the first one. He doesn't know anything else, I tell Luna Irene quickly. I understand. He might think it was just a nightmare. Don't worry about it, I'll take care of him. Luna Irene, Sophia says, now you understand why we can't go to war with the Lycans. Not only is Vera the king's mate, but he's also your grandson, he's a Goldmoon. If anything, this could be an opportunity to unite our people once and for all and end our centuries-long conflict. And more importantly, it was a Lycan that the moon goddess chose for my Ellie. I have no doubt that he was an exceptional man to deserve my baby, she says softly. This reminds me of something I had been wondering, but hadn't had the chance to ask. I understand why the Goldmoons would want revenge against the Lycans, but what about Alpha Samael? Considering how he treated Ellie, I highly doubt his reasons are noble. Luna Irene purses her lips, suddenly turning angry again. We were under the impression that his motives were the same as ours, naturally, but you leave that to me, she says. He's in perfect health, if only nursing a terrible hangover, Dr. Owens declares beside Alpha Silas. Irene. Irene. Alpha Silas calls for her once he comes to. Luna Irene rolls her eyes. Let this be a lesson to you both. Sometimes the moon goddess doesn't know what she's doing when she picks mates. Sophia and I smile as Irene gets up and walks to Alpha Silas's side. Dearest, I had the most horrible, terrible nightmare last night," he says as she takes his hand. "Our little girl and that bastard, my darling, it's okay. Rest for now, you had a terrible fall last night." Alpha Silas is immediately calmed down by his Luna's voice, consoled to think that it was just a dream and nothing else. Alpha Irene knows better. Once Alpha Silas has calmed down, she turns to us. "You all better leave, you don't want to be here when this one realizes what actually happened," she says, throwing me a knowing look. Both Sophia and I nod, standing from our seats as I take Noah's birth certificate. Dr. Owens is right behind us as Luna Irene continues consoling Alpha Silas, reassuring him that everything he experienced was just a nightmare. "We leave in 15 minutes, Sophia tells us, rushing through the corridors and towards our rooms. Once I'm in my room, the first thing I do is put the document in my bag, safe and secure. After all these days, I actually feel like I can breathe now. In less than the time designated, the warriors and I are out the door, leaving everything just as we found it, and meet Sophia and Dr. Owens at the entrance of the pack house. Waiting for us there is also Luna Irene and nobody else. It would seem like not even Alpha Elliot is aware of our departure. "Luna Irene, thank you for everything, and thank you for your discretion," Sophia says, taking Luna Irene's hand. "Irene, please. We'll be in contact, Alpha Sophia, things are going to get ugly here in the following days." Sophia smiles at her, sympathetically. This woman's life and her entire family's is about to be put on its head due to my vision. When it's my turn to say goodbye, I had planned on just shaking her hand, but she surprises me and goes in for a tight hug. I hug her back. "Thank you, my child," she says, "thank you for finally giving me peace." I smile at her, but she still doesn't release me and instead holds me at arm's length. I can feel her hesitation as she regards me. "You can ask me anything," I reassure her. She smiles. "What is he like?" she asks and I can't help but smile. "He's the best man I've ever known," I tell her. "He's kind, funny, loyal to a fault, intelligent, a formidable warrior." I could talk endlessly about Noah's attributes, but I only have so much time. "His people love him," I continue, "we would happily give our lives for him if it came to it." "He sounds like a gold moon," she smiles, her eyes getting glassy. I hug her one more time and whisper in her ear, "He also has your eyes." She gasps ever so slightly. When I separate from her, a single tear has fallen onto her cheek, only this time, for the first time, it seems to be a happy one. "Good luck, my child," she tells me, touching my cheek briefly. "Thank you." With this, I join the rest of the group. They have all shifted already. I shift too, not caring that I completely ruined my clothes. "Everything okay?" Sophia asks. "Better than okay," I respond, turning back to the pack house where Irene is gracefully waving at us. Out of the corner of my eye, however, a presence catches my attention. Up in one of the rooms, possibly the Alpha's office, a figure looms in the window, watching us. It's Alpha Samael. I can feel his violent aura. He's been watching since we got here. He was expecting us, Sophia tells me, following my line of vision. I bare my teeth. I'm done cowering. I don't have an alpha aura, but I do have a magical one, and it's arguably worse. I growl in his direction, focusing on my murderous intent towards him. He takes a step back and with my wolf's vision, I can see his expression clearly. He's shocked and perhaps afraid? Good, because if I ever see him again, I will kill him. That's if the gold moons don't do it first. Let's go, I tell Sophia, anxious to get to the pack house and then, soon, the castle. The rest of the afternoon went as expected. After leaving the courtyard, I made my way to the clinic to say goodbye to everyone. There were hugs, there were good wishes, and there were many, many tears. Again, that bittersweet feeling in the pit of my stomach intensified. I really did miss my girls and the clinic, and having to say goodbye to them again is making me way too emotional. Then, I even chatted to Dr. Owens about his plans for the clinic back at the Gold Moons. Everything is on standby until we know it's safe to return, and more importantly, until Alpha Samael is out of the picture. I did note, however, that he brought with him Amelia's phone number and they've been texting. When he caught me looking at his screen, he immediately shut it down though, threatening me to say a word. I just put up my hands defensively, saying nothing. We hugged goodbye, and decided that when the time came and if we had a chance, he would gladly go to the castle to help me establish the Lycan clinic. I appreciate this more than he knows, considering the clinic over there is a complete mess still and I have barely had the time to organize it. After Dr. Owens's office, it was already time for dinner. This time, there was no special goodbye dinner or anything. We don't believe in such things because we have the certainty that we'll see each other again, so really, there is no need for a farewell feast. Not to mention Sophia is swamped with work after only 2 days of not tending to it. To my surprise, however, when I got into the cafeteria, Flora and the other girls had once again prepared my favorite dishes: steamed fish, veggie rice, and of course, dessert. I ate with the Lycans who were still being served venison meat, much to their pleasure. I also didn't fail to notice that even if Lycans heal fast, most of their faces were pretty banged up still, meaning either they were still fighting up to a few minutes ago, or Leo really did a number on them. I say nothing at first, but I narrow my eyes at them and their injuries. Arlo catches me staring and quickly diverts his gaze. Colt does the same. Then, when my gaze lands on Ezra, I can't help myself, his face is by far the most damaged. You went in again, didn't you? I ask him. He says nothing. You guys do realize wolves train far more than Lycans, right? You guys begin training at what? 14 on average? We train from the moment we can walk, I tell them, shaking my head. From the castle, I know that Lycans think wolves are inferior in all regards, but us wolves know that we're brute strength and a quick temper fails, hard work, skill and practice prevail. I thought I noticed a weakness, okay? Ezra says, defensively. I shake my head. They all look like dogs with their tails in between their legs. Colt has barely even touched his food, despite how delicious it is. Once I'm done, I get up, leaving them to their sulking. You guys should get some rest, I tell them, picking up my plate. Give your bodies some time to heal. We have a long journey tomorrow. For some reason, however, I still feel like my recommendations will fall on deaf ears. I turn to leave, stopping by the kitchen to drop off my plates and thank the girls, then, I head to my room. When I enter my room, I strip, filling up my bathtub with warm water and some essential oils. I clip up my hair and sit comfortably in the tub. The mix of oils, mainly chamomile and lemongrass, will help me get some good sleep tonight. I am going to need it after these past few nights. Taking some deep breaths, I clear my mind, taking this time to meditate and relieve the anxiety I had been feeling these past few days. After about 30 minutes, I'm basically falling asleep in the tub and decide it's time to head out. Toweling myself dry, I change into a t-shirt and crawl into bed, thankfully falling into a deep sleep within minutes. The alarm clock on my bedside table goes off. It's 3:30 a.m. I stretch on my bed, completely rested. Getting up from my bed, I go to the bathroom to splash some water on my face, further waking me up. Once I'm done, I go over to the nightstand where I had safeguarded Noah's birth certificate. I open it, almost not believing that we managed to find it. I tuck it in safely inside my bag, making sure it won't be damaged on our journey. As sad as I am to leave my home again, I'm also incredibly excited about getting back to Noah and the castle and finally settling this thing with the council once and for all. In only a few minutes, I'm all packed up and ready to go. I leave my room, closing the door behind me carefully, mindful to not make any noise so as to not wake anyone up. When I get to the first floor of the pack house, Sophia is waiting for me at the entrance. "Good morning," she says, giving me a hug. "Morning," I respond, returning the hug. She yawns. "Are you ready?" she asks. I sigh. "As ready as I'll ever be." I'm not gonna lie, I'm not all too happy about leaving again. She chuckles humorlessly. "We're not very happy to see you go again, either," she says. There's a moment of silence as the Lycans slowly start to show up at the entrance with their bags. They each greet me informally, but to my surprise, they greet Sophia respectfully, bowing their heads. "You guys are welcome here anytime, just remember to give us a heads up so we don't kill you at the border." "Leo is usually on patrol," she says, teasing them. "We appreciate that, Alpha," Ezra says, "and we might take you up on that. Leo and I have some pending business." I roll my eyes but Sophia laughs. "I'm sure you do," she says. She turns to me. "Before I forget. Here," she says, dragging a bag that sat behind her, "Flora asked me to give you this." My mouth almost waters at the thought of the food inside. "Thank you," I tell her with a smile as Riker picks up the bag and slings it over his shoulder. "My pleasure," she says, smiling back. Before I turn to leave though, she catches my arm. "Vera, please be careful," she tells me, "back at the castle, from everything you told me, you and Noah still have to watch your backs, even after his parentage is proved. And of course, if anything happens, you know this is your home. Noah's too." I nod, understanding her concern and appreciating her offer. We hug one last time before I go into one of the rooms to shift. My wolf is even more reluctant to come forth, but after a few minutes, I manage to shift. "What is up with you?" I ask her. She doesn't even look at me, instead, she stares straight ahead. I head out, nodding at Sophia. Until we meet again, I tell her. She nods and waves as we take off, running into the woods. A few minutes later, we are joined by a group of 10 scouts, running beside us. I take a look at them and nod. At the head of the party is Thomas, they're escorting us out of wolf territory. Once we cross over to Lycan territory, the group of wolves stop following us, howling loudly into the air as they say goodbye. I howl too, my face up in the air as I say goodbye, for now, to my home. We run for several hours, anxious to get back to the castle. This time, instead of stopping for some breakfast, we decided to run well into the afternoon until we reach the Lycan campsite where we can eat and rest. By now, we are only about an hour away from the campsite, and right now, the only thing keeping me motivated is the pile of food Flora made for us. We have gone the entire day without eating. I'm sure my companions are also starved. Suddenly, however, my wolf perks up, noticing a cloud forming in the horizon. I frown. That's odd. There were no signs of rain until just now. But then, she completely stops, raising dirt all around her as her paws dig into the ground. What's wrong? I ask her, as she panically looks in every direction. A powerful feeling of foreboding settles in my stomach. Whatever my wolf was feeling just now, now I'm feeling it too. Something isn't right. After a few seconds, the Lycans notice that I have stopped and are now coming towards me, concerned. Ezra shifts, unable to communicate with me in Lycan form. Vera, is there something wrong? I can't answer him. I can't even bring myself to shift in order to explain to him that something is wrong, but I don't know what. I look straight ahead, following my wolf's gaze. The hairs on her nape are raised and she's growling furiously. In the distance, I see a rush of wind coming towards us, cutting through the tree trunks like they're made of butter. More than a gush of wind, it seems more like a giant sword swooshing through the trees and cutting them down. It's far too fast, the Lycans haven't even noticed, but it's getting lower and lower. At this rate, it will cut right through us as easily as it's cutting down the trees. Simultaneously, my wolf and I feel something, someone, a presence, coming in from the side. Everything is happening far too fast, but I'm seeing it almost as if it's in slow motion. Without notice, my wolf shifts us back to my human form without me initiating the shift, just as the presence nears us. The Lycans have just now realized what's happening behind them, and as confused as they seem, they're in position to fight, but there is no fighting this. They will be sliced in half if I don't do something. I crouch to the ground, trying to bend the soil to my will as I have done before with fire. I feel the rushing of electrical current throughout my entire body, all of the hairs in my body rise and my hands feel like they're on fire. It is more magic than I have ever felt before, and it's making me dizzy. I yell at the exertion, feeling a gush of liquid running down my nose. Blood! Vera! Ezra yells, but I barely hear him. I begin to pass out, but not before I hear the rumbling of the ground beneath me, and not before I feel someone picking me up from my midsection and rushing me away. Noah, one night. One night I have been away from Vera, and I've already thought about chasing after her and bringing her back to bed with me more than I care to admit. These past few months I have been so preoccupied with the council and running this kingdom that I barely saw her. I thought it would make being apart from her easier. But even then, I still came to bed to her, felt her presence, and smelled her all around me as I fell asleep and woke up. Your Majesty? Are you okay? I look up. William is standing over me, concerned. Yeah, I simply reply, turning my gaze back down. Have you even been listening to what this council has exposed? Council member Ambrose asks me. Not really, but I don't have to, I tell them, bored. There is a silence. Please tell me where I may have lost you and I'll happily recount the exposition, Council member Charles tells me. That won't be necessary, I say, looking at him, it's always the same thing. Pardon me. Charles says. You tell me how important the houses are to the crown, to me, how the rogue invasions are decimating their territory, how therefore, the crown is losing farmland and assets, and of course, soldiers, and how the ones that are the most affected are the common folk of this kingdom. All of this to ask me to send warriors to deal with the rogue invasion. Correct. Charles clears his throat, we haven't gotten there yet, but, something like that. And what do I get in return for this protection? Money was it? Because they have made it clear that I will not get their loyalty unless I marry one of their daughters. CO correct, Charles says after hesitating for a second. So, these families are offering me money in exchange for protection, but, here's the thing. I don't need money. There's another silence. They all seem surprised and I don't even know why. Ambrose opens his mouth to speak, but closes it again, not finding the words. What? The rats took your tongues, Council. I stand up, putting my arms out, look around you. I don't have any lavish inclinations like all the kings and queens before me. I don't need luxury. In fact, I don't want it. I have cut down the crown's budget, and the castle's, to fit our current circumstances and capital intake, and you know what? We even have money left over. So please, enlighten me, what would I use their money for? No one says a word and I take my time to look at every one of them to make my point. Now, you can all come in here and pretend that protecting the family's assets is protecting the crown, but we all know that's bullshit. Protecting the families puts my warriors at risk, not to mention the continuous protection of this castle. So let me be clear, I will not put my warriors on the line for money. For loyalty? Maybe. Money? Absolutely ridiculous. I head towards the door, leaving them speechless. As I pass Charles, I put a heavy hand on his shoulder, startling him. So, am I close? I ask him. He doesn't reply, but he nervously nods. As I'm about to exit the meeting room, I hear someone stand up. Ambrose is about to say something, but I speak before he does. Make them take a knee, Ambrose, otherwise, don't come to me with this bullshit again, I tell him, exiting through the door. The meetings with the council have proceeded as usual. Even if my claim to the throne has been challenged, they still acknowledge that the people of this kingdom and, more importantly, within this castle, are loyal to me or rather, loyal to my family. Meaning if they don't have a substantial claim to remove me from the throne, we have to continue operating as usual. Now, My show back at the meeting was not just because I was bored, though I was. Typically, when I challenge the council like that, they go back for a day or two, regroup, and then call for another council meeting. Right now, this works in my favor because I need to step away from the castle for a day or two and I definitely don't want them to know why. Ready? Your Highness? Eli asks, mocking me, as always. I meet Eli, Ethan, Mason, and Caleb at the back of the castle. I had to go into one of Eldon's tunnels to go undetected so the council and their little spies wouldn't know what I'm up to. Ready, I tell him, greeting all the guys as usual. So, when we get to the village, we have already arranged for meetings with the townsfolk. Just remember, they're apprehensive of Lycans in general, more so in power. You have to be patient, Caleb says. I nod, and we all shift, starting our journey. One of the most important parts of the plan to get rid of the council is to have the support of the people, and I don't mean the houses. At the end of the day, the common folk, farmers, maids, herders, and hunters are the ones that drive the economy of the kingdom, whether it's the castle or the houses. Meaning, if I have their support and offer them a home and land in return, the houses will be left with no workers, and it won't matter at all if I have their loyalty or not. So now, we are going to the most influential villages near the area to reassure them that if they don't want to work for the houses anymore, they will be received in the castle with open arms. When we have been running about 2 hours, Caleb stops, opening his palm to us, meaning it's time for us to shift. Humans are far weaker than us and, for generations, Lycans have been abusing this disadvantage. Still, many of the people in this village have rarely, if ever, seen a Lycan in Lycan form, so we don't want our first appearance to be as the beasts they're so apprehensive of. Okay, Caleb says, we are close, we should be able to make it there in the next 15 minutes. It's best if we walk now so we don't scare them. Again, we all nod and shift back to our human forms. In under 15 minutes, we are at the village and meeting all the people. My boy! Someone yells behind us. We all turn and a woman, probably in her 40s, comes rushing towards us and embraces Ethan. We all stare at the scene, baffled. Ethan hugs her back and behind her, a man comes towards him and quickly pats his back. Noah, this is Ivy and Tom, Charlotte's parents. At the mention of my name, Ivy looks flustered. Oh my, I didn't think His Highness was coming. She quickly smooths her skirt with her hands and clumsily courtesies. Tom beside her bows his head. As much as I appreciate the gesture, it's quite awkward, so I step forward grabbing her hands with him. Please, there's no need for that. 6 months ago, I was just like your boy here, I say, glancing at Ethan who narrows his eyes at me, understanding my mockery, so just call me Noah. Ivy blushes slightly and Tom clears his throat. Noah, I believe you are expected at the meeting hall, Tom says. I let go of Ivy's hand and nod at Tom. Well, then I suppose we better not keep them waiting. I tell them, following Tom towards a building at the center of the village. Hopefully, if this goes smoothly, we can be done with this and move on to the next village today. Noah, I see a glass bottle flying across the hall, towards the podium. I quickly duck. Where there are Lycans, there's deceit. Someone yells. Yeah. People yell in response. So much shit has flown towards me this past hour that I have lost track. Shoes, bottles, cups, hats, underwear. Listen, as I said before, this is only an option for you guys if you don't want to continue working for the houses. I throw my hands up, defeated. I'm tired at this point and my voice is hoarse from yelling over people. The meeting actually started better than we anticipated. People were receptive to everything I had to say, up until the point where I mentioned that if they wanted to stop working for the families, we would offer them a home at the castle. I even offered them land, but that was the point of no return. Some of these lands have been in our families for generations. You can't ask us to leave it. Someone had said. All of my sons and grandsons were born there. I won't let someone else take what's mine. Another one had yelled. This is just another ploy for the Lycans to get our land. They just want us to hand it to them. And so on, so forth. Right now, people are even arguing amongst themselves to see who can come up with the most nefarious theory as to why I'm offering this to them. After all, the land by the castle is the most sought after and priced. They can't believe I'd just give it away. Silence. Silence. Tom yells, please. This is a town meeting. Nobody is forcing you out of your land, so please, quiet down. Apparently, Tom is influential enough for people to listen to him because the chatter dies down in a couple of minutes. I nod at Tom in a silent thank you. Your Highness, if I may, someone raises their hand. Yet, I say, sounding more and more defeated. Lycans have used us for generations as forced labor. We work the farms, we work at the castle. We work at the houses. We have again and again been used as bargaining chips in every dispute imaginable, and right now, you are doing the same. The yelling begins again, agreeing with the woman. I raise my hand, trying to calm them down, and this time, they actually do. Please, explain what you mean, I tell the woman once the crowd has quieted down. It takes her by surprise. Your Highness. None of us actually want to leave our home. That's all we've ever known, and you are asking us to leave. Why? I stay silent, looking at her. I really don't have an answer for her. What she's accusing me of is absolutely right, now that she puts it that way. I'm trying to use them to stick it to the houses, to leave them without a workforce, but in the process, I am asking these people to leave behind their homes and all they have ever known. I hadn't even thought of the effect this could have on them. I rub my face with my hand. The entire room has become quiet, waiting for my answer. Okay, listen. I'm going to be honest with you, which is what I should have done in the first place. It's no secret that I'm new at this. In fact, I hardly ever know what I'm doing. This is one of those cases. As Tom said, nobody is forcing you out of your homes. If you want to stay, you stay. What I do know, however, is that I'm not happy about any of this. I'm not happy about the houses raising your taxes. I'm not happy with the council and those in power trying to always look after themselves and at your expense no less. I'm not happy about how you all have been treated, and I'm not happy with feeling like this kingdom could be so much more. And to be honest with you, I don't know how to change any this. So, please, if you have any suggestions, I am all ears. The people before me are so shocked at my revelation that they don't say a word. Quite frankly, even I am surprised at my admission. It's the first time I have admitted, even to myself, that I have no idea what I'm doing. With the council, I always have to fake this bravado to actually be listened to. I have to pretend I know better than everyone in the room. Here, that has backfired phenomenally. A shy voice comes from the back of the room. Yo, Your Highness, perhaps we could start by lowering the taxes? Last month the houses took half our crops, this month they want to take more. It won't leave me enough to feed my family. Unfortunately, I can't do that. The taxes are established by the houses. Bulletin, but they've always said they're established by the crown, the voice says again. I raise my eyebrow. I'm afraid you've been lied to. Not once have I suggested nor authorized, for that matter, a tax increase. Chatter breaks out once again in the room, until Tom stands up. His expression has changed. It was passive before, but now he seems angry. The room quiets down once again when they see that Tom has stood up to address me. Your Highness, I want to thank you for coming in and explaining the situation to us. You can rest assured that you have my and my family's support moving forward, he says, sitting back down. And mine, someone else says. Mine too. I hear from the corner of the room, followed by many others. The meeting ends on a high note, considering that nothing was thrown my way as I stepped off the stage. Noah, I hear from behind me. Turning around, I notice it's Tom who spoke. We really did want to thank you for coming here. Most of these folks are highly distrustful of Lycans, but you coming here means a lot to them. Previous kings never talked to us directly, so going to the towns and villages and addressing the people will go a long way. He shakes my hand. I appreciate that, and hopefully, you're right. He goes on to shake the hands of my companions and more men come up to me to shake my hand. I don't know what I said to make them change their mind, but I'm happy it did. I think we should head out. A crowd like this can draw attention. If the council's little spies come looking, we better be long gone. Eli says. Oh, but you can't. We prepared a feast and everything. Ivy says, hanging on to Ethan's arm and coming towards us. I'm sorry we can't stay, but surely next time we're here Noah will try your fantastic cooking. Ivy, Ethan says, patting her hand. This seems to please her enough to leave the subject alone. Truthfully, we could have stayed longer and eaten with them, but Ethan was so quick with his answer I'm assuming he doesn't want to stay here much longer. We exit the meeting hall after it's been almost completed vacated. Once again, we meet Tom at the exit. Tom, thank you for making this happen. Ethan says, shaking his hand, it's more important than you realize. Tom has taken out a pipe and proceeded to light it, smoking whatever herb or root he put in there. Don't worry about it, he says between puffs. I mean, no one here is stupid. Most of us understand that the houses haven't aligned to the new leadership and now the king must do something about it. Believe me, if it comes down to it, no one will support the houses, anyway. This statement takes me by surprise, but before I can ask him about what he's heard or what he knows, he winks at me. So, Noah, you better not make fools out of us. I smile at him and shake his hand again. I won't, I tell him. After this, we all turn to leave, wasting no time to get out of here and on to the next town. Our schedule is tight if we want to make it back to the castle before anyone starts suspecting anything. We begin walking into the forest, away from everyone, before I hear a stomach rumble. It's mine. Well, the king has spoken, Mason says, much too happy to be away from the crowd at the village. I chuckle. We can walk a few more minutes and reach a clearing. The day is nice, might as well take advantage of it. Ethan says. Ethan knows this area well since most of the time away from the castle is spent here with Charlotte and her parents. We all walk towards the clearing in our human form. We walk in smaller groups, and I take the opportunity to finally ask Ethan what is wrong. He's been off lately. No one knows what's wrong with him and he's been like this for so long I'm actually starting to get concerned. Hey, Ethan, are you okay, man? The guys and I have noticed you've been off lately, I'm starting to get worried, I tell him. He purses his lips, not looking at me. After a couple of minutes, he finally speaks. Charlotte is pregnant, he says. This takes me by surprise. Pren. Is it yours? I ask him. He stops walking to look at me through narrowed eyes. Of course it's mine, who else do you think? I raise my hands up, defensively. I didn't mean anything by it it's just, you're a Lycan and she's human. He continues walking. Don't I know that? He murmurs to himself, we're here. We all stop at the edge of the forest and the beginning of the clearing. Ethan is right, it is a beautiful day. We all sit on the shade of a tree and unpack our lunches. So, what are you guys going to do? I ask Ethan, sitting beside him. Do about what? Mason asks. Charlotte is pregnant, Ethan says. Mason, Eli, and Caleb pause for a second, staring at Ethan in disbelief. He doesn't meet any of their gazes, he just unpacks his lunch and begins eating. I asked her to get rid of it, but needless to say, it landed me on the floor for several nights. You can't just ask a woman to get rid of a baby, Caleb says. Why not? She's a human, there's no way she'll survive that birth. Eli says. I throw a rock at him. Hey, he protests. Stop. I warn him. He's right, though. That's exactly why I asked her to get rid of it. Do you know what the mortality rate is for humans birthing Lycans? Over 90%. We all slowly begin eating, not sure what to tell him. Have you tried telling her how concerned you are that this pregnancy might take her life? Caleb asks, trying to be tactful. Yes. She says it's a risk she's willing to take. There isn't much you can do, then, I tell him, resolute. I mean, what would you do if Vera ever got pregnant with your pup? Even for a wolf it would be dangerous, he says. I have mixed emotions at the mention of Vera bearing a pup of mine. As much as I love the idea of Vera having my pups, I would never put her life at risk in order to do so. I stay silent. I think it's evident that none of us here would put the life of our mates at risk in order to have kids. With that, we drop all conversation pertaining to Charlotte's pregnancy and continue our meals in complete silence. Noah, after our lunch, we rested for about 30 minutes at the clearing and moved on to the next village. This one was significantly bigger and the meetings went just about the same as the previous one. There was a lot of confusion as to why I'd asked them to leave their land, until finally everyone was happy and clear with my stance. Really, having these meetings has enlightened me as to just how much the common folk are aware of the happenings between the castle and the families. Just like Tom, most already know that this is me taking action against the houses, rather than me being a charitable king. They saw through that angle quite quickly. This new angle, however, one in which I just want to stick it to the families, is much more believable. Fortunately, most of them have decided to side with me on this matter. Now that the second day of meetings is over, we are making our way back to the castle in the shadow of night. I will attend meetings tomorrow morning as usual, and no one will suspect what we've been up to these past 2 days. Even if we only visited a few villages, rest assured that the message will be carried through. People are tired of being under the house's thumbs, Caleb says. His comments brings me back to reality. I simply nod. Do you think the council will find out? Mason asks. Probably, but by then there won't be much they can do. They know they're at a disadvantage. Challenging Noah was probably the worst thing they could have done. I just keep thinking they must have some plan in place. I doubt they won't see this coming. Ethan says. Nah. They're too arrogant. They think that by merely being backed by the houses they have enough leverage. They don't, Eli says, resolute. Your concerns are not unfounded. I think we have to keep our ears and eyes open. Let's remember that not too long ago, Alistair had people very loyal to him within these walls. They too might play a part, I say. The enemy of my enemy, Mason says. Noted. Ethan says. They both nod at us and disappear into the forest, going to cover their normal night shifts so as to not raise any suspicions. As for you, keep stalling the council. We know Olcott has traveled back to his home to raise support for the council's pretenses on the day of the trial. We still don't know in what manner that support might come. Caleb says. We'll deal with it when the time comes. Thank you both, I tell Caleb and Eli. They too nod at me and go their separate ways and leave me to the back tunnels that lead to the library. I enter the tunnels. The long, dark passageway giving me some time to think about a few things that have been on my mind. Mainly, Vera. I know she was happy to return home, even if it was tinged with some bittersweetness. I could feel this since our bond only got stronger when she marked me. When her emotions are strong enough, I can feel them as my own. Ethan's issue, however, has brought forth something I hadn't even considered up to this point. Pups. Vera and I have never even talked about it, so I don't know if she even wants children. But do I want children? Absolutely. Would I ever compromise Vera's health in order to get them? Never. But then again, my mother was a wolf and she was able to carry me to term and not die when I was born. So, even if Vera is a wolf, this doesn't mean she'd die necessarily. Thankfully, wolves apparently have some form of pill they take every day in order to avoid pregnancies. It's the tiniest pill, I don't even know how it works, but it's kept her without a kid thus far. I'm grateful she thought of taking that, it will give us some time to figure things out. Thinking of Verum makes me anxious, which is why I've been trying, but failing to avoid overthinking about her and her mission. I know she's strong, resilient, and incredibly smart, but I would feel a lot better if we could have gone back to wolf territory together. It sounds stupid, I know, and I probably wouldn't have been able to go to the Gold Moons to begin with given that I'm a Lycan, but it would have made me feel a lot better to know I am a short distance away from her. When I reach the fake wall that leads to the library, I push it forward until I hear the distinct click. Stepping out, I gasp, scared shitless. Goddess, Eldon. Eldon is standing right in front of me, not looking the least bit amused. I close the fake door behind me quietly while his expression is almost annoyed. Come, he says and turns around, not giving me any explanations. I don't even question him. I've learned that with Eldon, I better just do as he says. I follow him through the library. It's mostly deserted at this time of night, and only a few desks have their little lamps on with scholars finishing up their work. None of them raise their heads or acknowledge me in any way, it's why I like them so much. When we get to an end of the library, he leads me into a tunnel. I frown, but again, I know better than to question him. After a short walk, maybe 10 minutes, we reach the end of the tunnel. When Eldon opens the door, he sticks his head out, sniffing the air. Once he's sure that there's no one around, we step out. We're at a part of the castle where I've rarely ever been, the Beta's wing. This just keeps getting weirder and weirder. Eldon begins walking, and I silently follow him towards Beta Caleb's old room. The entire wing is being remodeled to become part of Vera's clinic right along with the King's wing. There was just so much unoccupied space since Caleb decided to take a warrior's room and I decided to stay in my old room, it made no sense to not make use of them. When Eldon opens the door, his secretiveness suddenly makes overwhelming sense. Sitting at the middle of the room in a new chair, wrapped up in plastic, is Liam. When Liam notices us, he immediately perks up, smiling at us. I come forward, hugging him and patting his back. Well, look what the cat dragged in. I tell him. He hugs me back unlike the last time we saw each other. Always a pleasure, Your Highness, he says. After a few more pats, we separate. I take a good look at him. He looks like shit. His clothes are dirty. He's lost his shoes. Judging by the smell, he also hasn't showered in weeks if not months. His hair and beard have grown out so much he's almost unrecognizable. So, is this a new look or a lifestyle change? I tease him. He rolls his eyes. Shut up, he says, but then realizes he's talking to his king, not that it matters to me, and adjusts his tone. I mean, shut up, Your Highness, he says. We both laugh. It's good to have you back, I tell him, but pause, why exactly are you here? We had agreed, or rather, he had agreed, that he wouldn't come back until he killed Harriet, but for some reason this doesn't look like the face of a triumphant man. He shakes his head. It's not what you think, he says, we have to talk, Noah. I turn to look at Eldon. No, he can stay. I actually think he should stay. Liam says. I already fed him, let's get into it, Eldon says, wasting no time and taking a seat on one of the wrapped-up chairs. Very down to business. I raise an eyebrow, looking at Liam now. Yeah, he's the one who found me, actually. I was trying to get into the castle through the tunnels out back, but I realized I didn't know where they were. I nod, crossing my arms and giving him my full attention. He begins, so, when I left the castle, I was following Harriet's tracks. As you know, I intended on killing her, but after about a month, her trail went completely cold. Instead of turning back to the castle without accomplishing my mission, I decided to roam around and see if she turned up anywhere. Another month went by and I was looking rough around the edges, so to speak, and encountered a group of rogues right at the edge of our territory. Because of my appearance, they assumed I was like them, exiled and forgotten. Of course, I went with them to see if I could find any information to help me find Harriet, but I had no luck. Instead, I became a part of the rogues. I raise my eyebrows at this. It's not unexpected that Harriet was cunning enough to hide from him, but I never thought infiltrating the rogues would be this easy. He continues, so, for the past couple of months, I've risen in the ranks within the rogues and finally got close to their leader. Noah, you have no idea how organized these people are. They have ranks, just like us, training grounds, leaders, a sort of council, and they're coming for all of you. I frown, noting that he said all of you instead of all of us. What do you mean they're coming for all of us? When? I ask. This is certainly not something I need right now. With Vera in wolf territory and my throne being challenged, I don't have the necessary manpower or Vera's intuition to win a war, much less the willingness to fight one. Soon, he says grimly. But I really came down here because the timeline might have just been accelerated. There's a man, Alkit, I believe his name was, he started negotiating with rogues a few days ago. This revelation does take me by surprise. That sneaky son of a bitch isn't negotiating with the houses then, he went directly to the rogues. He promised the leader of the rogues that if they helped take you down, they could then have all the land they desired, the castle even. So, the bastard has been planning a coup all along. He might have challenged your claim to the throne publicly to give him time to assemble the people he needed. Eldon says. No, Liam answers him. Apparently he had already been in talks with some factions within the rogues. He only challenged your throne when he already had a meeting secured with the leader. I finally sit down on one of the chairs, contemplating this new piece of information. This changes everything. If Alkit is negotiating with the rogues in order to get himself an army, that's exactly what I need to be doing, too. What are the numbers, Liam? What kind of army are we talking about? His face turns grim. More than you can muster, that's for sure. At least 7 rogues to 1 of yours. And they're mostly Lycan. I close my eyes, pinching the bridge of my nose. This is perfect, just perfect. But that's not it. Liam continues, I talked to Sadira, the leader, and her commanders. They don't actually trust Alkit, they want to use him to secure passage into the castle, get rid of you, and then get rid of everyone else. There is not a single rogue that doesn't have beef with the houses and the families, there's no chance they'll be left standing after all of this. If they want to double-cross Alkit and the houses, then why not take down the families and leave the castle alone? I ask. It's a stupid question, but I need to understand the rogue's motivations in order to come up with a plan. Because, though we didn't realize it before, the houses have been abusing their power and people over for generations. Anyone who ever dared disagree with them or not pay up their taxes would either get beaten, killed, or in the best case, exiled. The rogue force we see now has been forming for a long time, Noah. And, justified or not, they blame the castle for turning a blind eye. Great! I sigh, closing my eyes again and rubbing my hand through my hair, exasperated. How soon should we expect them? Really, the only real option I see now is to gather up whatever army I can and go to war with the rogues. Maybe we can even hold the castle and they can take everything else. I just feel so defeated already. There's never-ending shit coming our way and there seems to be no ending it. What do they want, really? Eldon asks Liam before he can answer my question. Liam hesitates, trying to find the words. This is just my perception, right? But I've noticed most of these people just want a home. They have cluttered up in numbers because it gives them a sense of belonging and safety. Some of them even liked the idea Alcott presented, of being given a home to come to, only of course, Sadira knows better than to trust a council member. Have you told them I would have no problem in giving them land? A home? He rolls his eyes. Of course not, they think I was a prisoner of war here or something. Can you get us a meeting with their leader? Eldon asks. And discuss what exactly? I ask him. That you are not your father's son, or your grandfather's grandson, he says, annoyed I'd even ask. Noah, your father and grandfather were great men, the best this castle had to offer, but what Liam is saying is true, they turned a blind eye to the abuse that the houses had been inflicting on the common people, all because they needed their continued support. Maybe if we can convince them that you are nothing like that, and that your promise to them is legitimate, we can negotiate with them to take the council out, or at least, to not kill us all. I turn to look at Liam. I'll see what I can do, he says, standing up and offering his hand to me. I take it and shake it. You know, in the meantime, you could shower and whatever, you smell like death. He chuckles. I smell like a wild animal for a reason. It helps disguise my scent, and yours. They'll never know I was even here, he explains. I nod at him and he turns to leave with Eldon, but suddenly, I remember something. Liam, have you had any leads on Harriet since? I need that piece dead. He turns to me, shaking his head. The trail has been cold for months now. Even with many rogues on the lookout, I have no idea where she went. It's like she just vanished beyond the western mountains. He turns to leave again, exiting through the door behind Eldon, heading towards the tunnels. I grind my teeth. I had hoped Liam had taken care of her already, but I guess that's one more thing to add to my list. Harriet not only proved to be treacherous, she also proved to be cunning. I fear that given enough time, she will undoubtedly make a move against us at some point. If Liam doesn't find and kill her, I will. Noah, that piece of shit. Eli slams his fist against the table, causing it to lightly fracture. And you're certain of this information? Asks Caleb. It's coming from a trustworthy source, I tell him. The source is Liam, Eldon says. I close my eyes, taking a deep breath. I was purposefully trying to keep my source a secret so as to not put him in danger, but Eldon is too blunt for his own good. I trust all of the people here with my life, but this castle, even now, has ears for walls. Then it's true, Eli says, scratching his stubble, so, what do you wanna do? Should we start raising an army? Of course, leave it to Eli to always look for the violent resolution in every scenario, looking quite content about it nonetheless. Liam will try to get us a meeting with their leader, Sadira I believe, and we'll see from there. If we can't come to an agreement with her, then yes, we would have to look for alternatives, I tell Eli. What makes you think the rogues won't double-cross us, too? Caleb asks. It's a risk we will have to take. For now, let's all go about our day as we normally would. Eli, see into possibly raising an army, a few thousands if only to keep the castle. Eli nods and leaves, looking a little too happy about the task at hand. I never knew the problems ran this deep, Caleb muses to himself. He catches me staring, with Alexander, I never knew the houses were terrorizing their people to this extent. I stay silent. I never knew the man, but I don't like what I'm hearing thus far. He was the king, how could he not know what was happening right underneath his nose? He was a good man, Noah, he had the best intentions. Honestly, I strongly believe that's what got him killed in the end. He never understood that the people around him didn't have such a noble heart. I don't question his heart, Caleb, I question his intelligence. Caleb purses his lips. I know he doesn't like me talking ill of Alexander, they were best friends after all, but he has to admit the man was not the most politically sharp. None of that matters anymore. Alexander's story was written the moment he decided to go against the council and Alastair without a solid plan. Let us not make the same mistakes, Eldon says, then he turns to me, when is Vera coming back, he asks. Hopefully soon. I respond. Hopefully, for the sake of all of us, he says and turns around, leaving for his library. I frown as I watch him go. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but every time this man speaks it sounds like a premonition. I shake my head as it once again wanders to Vera and what she might be up to. I walk towards the door, exiting with Caleb right behind. We have a meeting to go to. After walking through several halls, we arrive at the council meeting room where, just as expected, another meeting has been summoned. Walking through the doors, the council member seats are eerily empty, only a few council members are at their seat including William. I take my seat at the head of the table and I'm about to speak when the doors dramatically open. I make an effort to not roll my eyes. Why am I even surprised? Council member Alcott, I'm happy to see you still consider us worthy of your presence, I say. Oh, I'm sorry Your Highness, I had business to attend to back at my main house, nothing worth troubling you with, I assure you. He takes his seat. Well, Council member Jeremiah had called for this meeting, but I see he is still not here. Does anybody know where he is and why he may be running late? I ask. Your Highness, if I may, William stands up. He had urgent matters to attend to at his home. You see, rogues have entered his territory and stolen a big portion of the crops gathered as taxes. I stare at William, not amused that my time is being wasted. Well then, if I may. Olcott says, standing up. William sits down. Your Highness, I really think all of these meetings should be halted until we have a resolution for your case. Given that we actually have no proof of your lineage, it is questionable whether you should be allowed to make decisions until such evidence is provided, he says with a smirk. Should I go gather Alistair's remains, whatever is left of him, and show you why I should be here? I ask him. Oh please, there is no need to be so crude. All I'm saying is, maybe if there is no real royal line left, then the future king should be someone selected through a popular election. I remain quiet and rather serious. It unnerves him. So, I motion to resume these council meetings once the matter of His Majesty's lineage is settled in 4 days' time, unless you'd like more time, Your Highness. Most of the council members here voice their support for this motion, making these series of events all that more interesting. The majority of the missing members don't necessarily agree with Olcott and his methods, and today that he proposes a motion, they're all gone? I don't think that's wise, I interrupt them. There are rogues moving into council member Jeremiah's territory, meaning they are only a couple of days away from the castle. It's closer than we have ever seen rogues come to us. We should address the matter, unless, of course, the present council members would disagree with me. Olcott is surprised I'd even challenge him. Truth be told, most of the time, I just go with whatever is settled amongst them without any challenge. That's because most of the time, my mind isn't even here at all. I think His Majesty is right, William says, if the rogues indeed have come this close, something must be happening, we must take action. I suggest we send a party of 20, myself included, and go, negotiate terms, with the rogues, I say, causing everyone to look at me, surprised. Negotiate terms. Your Highness? Olcott asks. Sure, I've heard their leader, Sadira, is a great beauty, wouldn't you say, Council Member Olcott? I sure would like to see this for myself. He suddenly turns serious, the color draining from his face. I stare at him for a long time, further unnerving him. It must be a great surprise for him that I even know her name, it's something that had never come up before. Well, I finally say, standing up. If it is a 4-day vacation this council wants, then I'm inclined to agree with you all. After all, I too have matters to attend to. I make a point to stare at Olcott as I say this. He stares at me defiantly, but just a second ago, I saw him gulp. I smirk and rise to leave the room. Caleb follows behind me. You really didn't have to rattle him up like that, he tells me once we are out in the corridor. But it's fun, isn't it? I respond with a smirk. Caleb simply shakes his head in disapproval. Thanks to Liam, I have hopefully now caused Olcott to rethink his entire strategy. That might give us a chance to talk to Sadira or for him to get desperate and make a mistake. Either way, throwing a wrench in the enemy's plan is always a good idea. Now, we wait and hope that Liam comes through with the meeting the rogue leader. Noah 6 days. 6 days without proper food or sleep. 6 days have passed and still I have no news of Vera. Yesterday, I was hit with this feeling, right in the pit of my stomach that has increased my anxiety tenfold. I still haven't figured out what it was, but it made me double down in the shower, like I couldn't breathe. It was a sharp pain, but I knew it was not physical at all. It made me wander the entire castle the rest of the day and at night, like a ghost roaming through the halls. Half of the time, I had the burning urge to run after Vera right then in the middle of the night. My Lycan kept rising to the surface, ready to obey that urge. Now, several hours later, the pain in my gut is gone, but that punch in the gut feeling left me with a terrible sensation. The truth is, I've been feeling more and more anxious the longer I go without news from Vera. I keep thinking that even if I trust the guys she's with my life, hers is mine and mine alone to protect. I grind my teeth unconsciously and don't even realize my aura, or whatever Vera called it, is sneaking up on everyone around me until Eldon points it out. "Noah, knock it off," he says, narrowing his eyes at me, annoyed. This has been happening a lot lately, more so after yesterday. Even when I'm not bothered or angry by anything, I think just being away from Vera is making something inside me very angry. I look up, noticing Eli and Caleb have taken a calculated step back from the table. I always wondered why they did that. I'd never actually hurt them, but apparently their reaction is just by instinct and they can't control it. Sorry, I got distracted," I tell them. As I was saying, I have managed to gather enough warriors to hold the castle if it came to it. Again, we could use the tunnels to hide and evacuate non-tactical staff. The only real problem would be that if the rogues do attack, it will probably be a surprise attack. Eli says. We have a timeline, though, Caleb says. From what Liam said, the catalyst for the attack will be the trial, that's tomorrow. That's if your highness didn't accelerate Olcot's timeline. Eldon and Eli turn to me. I may or may not have ruffled his feathers a little, I explain, shrugging. Eli smirks, approvingly. Eldon narrows his eyes at me again. And there has been no word from Liam, correct? Caleb asks. None, Eldon says. I imagine it's difficult to explain just how or why he became our messenger, I interject. Well, either way, all we can do now is wait and see what happens. Even if Olcott has decided to accelerate the timeline, the rogues would be fools to not accept our meeting first, Eli says. With that, we all agree to go about our usual day as we wait for Liam to come back with news. Eldon leaves for his library again, while Eli and Caleb each go their own separate ways. I know they probably still have thing to do in preparation for the trial, but I can't concern myself with that anymore. I've been feeling too volatile, too out of control, lately. It's something that I expected after letting my Lycan fight free and unchecked in the woods all those months ago, but trying to keep this aura thing under control is starting to wear me down. So, I decide to spend the rest of the morning in the training grounds. It's the only thing that seems to keep me from worrying about Vera constantly, which is making the volatility worse. When I enter the fighting ring, the new recruits stare at me in fear. They have never seen me fight, and they are not the least bit eager to fight me themselves. After several hours, most of the morning has gone by. I have fought almost every warrior here, reminding everyone who the better fighter is. Some even have come back to try and defeat me, but have failed miserably. One by one, warrior after warrior falls at my feet as I defeat them quickly. When I finally stop and step out of the ring, I do so because I'm hungry, not because I'm tired. Alan hands me a towel and water. I don't know if you fighting them encourages them or makes them fear you more, boss, he says. Either way seems good to me, he says. Off to the corner, I notice Mason coming in, his expression rather serious. When he locks eyes with me, he simply nods. I nod back, understanding. I hand the towel back to Alan and proceed to leave the training grounds, meeting Mason at the exterior courtyard. It's empty at this time. I got word from our resident rogue. The leader agreed to meet outside the castle territory at midnight. She'll be accompanied, she wants to make sure no harm will come to her or her party, he says. Done. We will only be 5 guys, she can bring as many as she wants. It has to be within castle territory, though. I can't guarantee her protection otherwise. Tell Liam to tread carefully, he knows the way in and out of the territory without being detected, but this knowledge might make them suspicious of him. Mason nods and leaves. I turn to look around, making sure absolutely no one was near us to hear the exchange. After a few minutes, I turn in the direction of the castle, making my way to Eli's office. When I get there, I enter the door and find him sitting in front of a map of the castle. Your Highness, he looks up. We got word from our spy, the meeting will be tonight at midnight. She will be accompanied. No harm will come to her or her party. We will leave a few hours before to scout out the area, just in case. Sounds like a plan, Eli says, standing up and taking the map, placing it in front of me. I'll tell the others. Mason and Ethan will join us. I nod. Very well. Don't leave. We have a few strategies to discuss. I eye the map. It's an old map of the castle, one that shows every weak spot, but also the areas that are impenetrable. After only a couple of minutes, Eli is back. Well, they are all aware and excited to meet this rogue leader. Now, the map, he says, coming to stand in front of me as we both stare at the map. This, he points at the main entrance, is our biggest weak spot. I recommend putting most of our warriors here in case the rogues breach. There's no time to reinforce the door. Where did you get this map? I ask him. Eldon. I asked for the oldest map he knows of and that's what he came up with. He shrugs. I trace my finger on the map, careful not to damage it. I'm following a strange red line that flows through the castle. It's very faint, almost too faint to see, but it's there. What do you think this is? I ask Eli. I figured it was an initial tracing of the foundations, they follow every bit of the castle's outline. My finger traces over the lines again and again, feeling like there's more to it. Then, my finger lands on the beta's wing. Wait, look at this, I tell Eli, tracing the exact route that Eldon took me on the other day when he took me to Liam from the library. Eli, this is a map of the hidden passageways of the castle. Eli leans over, looking at the lines now under a new light. If that's the case, he says, tracing a big square at the entrance, could this be a dungeon or something? I notice what he's referring to. There's a rectangle a few meters outside the castle entrance and it extends to most of the length of the stone wall. I don't know, but ask Eldon, see if he knows what it could be. Eli nods and once again leaves. The rest of the day flies by quickly. I grab a quick bite to eat, not really having an appetite just like the past few days. Then, I meet with Caleb, trying to figure out a plan to convince the rogues to switch to our side. Quickly, the afternoon and night are gone as we even make plans for my trial tomorrow. Let's hope Vera makes it back in time and with the documents we need, he says, finally. The mention of Vera once again causes the ripple in my stomach to form. Ladies, it's time to get going. Eli says coming in, checking his watch. Behind him, Mason and Ethan are ready to leave. I straighten, all right then, I say. With Caleb, Eli, Mason, and Ethan, we make our way to the library, heading to the tunnels. Noah arriving at the clearing where we'll meet the rogues, we all pause. I give them a signal and Eli, Mason, and Ethan disperse, scouting out the area. This is just a precautionary measure, of course, but I can't risk the rogues double-crossing us or the council finding out about this meeting. If there are any spies, I need them flushed out right now. Only about 30 minutes later, to our surprise, Liam enters the clearing, with his arms raised. Your Highness, he says, looking afraid. I immediately catch on. He's faking his fears so that the rogues don't suspect he's really one of my warriors and friends. I growl at him, still in Lycan form. From the trees, Ethan, Mason, and Eli come back, flanking me. Our leader requests to have this meeting in human form, Your Grace, he says. I'm going to have fun teasing him about this once this whole thing is over. I turn to my human form, putting on a pair of sweats I brought with me. Behind me, everyone does the same. Ah, now we can finally meet, someone says behind Liam. Someone whom I believe to be Sadira, their leader, walks out of the tree line, followed by at least a dozen of her men. I raise an eyebrow at this. Oh, it's only fair, she says, after all, you made me come to you. I must say, at least Alkid had the decency of coming to my turf. Sadira steps closer to us, and so does the rest of her party, including Liam. Now that I can see her up close, I can tell she's a Lycan just by her physical build. Human women or even she-wolves are slightly smaller and less built. She has wild red hair that falls to her hips. She's wearing high-rise boots, pants, and a masculine, oversized shirt. She can't be over 40 years old. Sadira, I presume. I ask her. She simply nods. It's nice to meet you, I'm Noah. This is Eli, Caleb, Ethan, and Mason. They each nod at the mention of their name. Oh, I know who you are, Your Grace, she says. Is this the totality of your party? She asks. Yes, I say. She nods at two of her guys who quickly turn to their Lycans and run into the forest, no doubt to check if I'm lying. In a few minutes, they've come back and nod at Sadira, confirming that it is in fact, just us. Good, Your Grace, a man of your word, she says. Always, I reply. She smiles, but it's humorless. What do you want, Sadira? This takes her by surprise as her smile drops. Very direct. Very well, we want to tear all of this to the ground, she says, extending her arms. I see, and why if I may ask? I ask, unimpressed by her claim. Why? Because the entire system is broken, Your Grace. None of it works. Not the houses, not the families, not the tax system, and certainly not the crown. Ouch. I say, but we've only just met. Nonetheless, you have not been able to deal with the families, and believe me, if you don't, we will. Be my guest, I say. She moves her head to the side, frowning. You want to get rid of them? I won't stop you. I've had half a mind to do that myself, I confess. And yet you have been sending soldiers to guard their lands, she says, narrowing her eyes. I have not. My warriors are all accounted for within the castle. Any soldiers that have been guarding their lands have been hired by the families, I explain. One of her men approaches her, whispering in her ear. She stares at me while she listens to him. When he's done, she nods. Your Highness, she begins, but I interrupt her. Noah, please, I say. Noah. You tell me that you wouldn't stop me if I started taking out the families, correct? I nod. And you also wouldn't stop me if I took their land. I shake my head. Then, I don't understand, if you don't care about them at all, why haven't you gotten rid of them yourself? As weak as they are. I can't imagine it would be too much of a struggle for you. I don't plan on starting a war. It's not worth the lives of my warriors, I explain. Your warriors? She asks, incredulous. I shrug. Even one casualty is unacceptable to me, unless absolutely necessary. She stays silent, regarding me with a serious expression. After a few minutes and no one saying a word, I finally cave. I've recently learned that honesty is often the best policy, and it can't really hurt now, can it? Saudira, my real intention here is to get rid of the council. I am tired beyond belief of their antics. They don't care in the slightest for the people their policies hurt. They recently raised taxes from what I heard, completely unbeknownst to me. They go out of their way to hide shit from me, and they have tried to manipulate me to do as they say more than once. They're a disease, and I need that limb cut off. The only reason why I'm here is because Olcott reached out to you. I'm not here to ask you to support me or fight for me, I just ask that you don't do it for him, either. She stays silent for a few seconds, considering my words, or rather, considering if she can trust me. Done, she says. Beside her, I can note the apprehension on her people's faces, but she spoke clearly. Take this as a favor to you, Your Highness. Once you deal with your pest, we will talk again, she says, turning around to leave. I turn to leave too, but beyond the tree line, I hear a ruffling coming towards us. Liam and Mason quickly shift to their Lycans, standing in front of me. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice that Saudira is also looking this way with her men flanking her. Judging by their reaction, I think it's safe to assume this isn't them double-crossing me. So, what, or who, in the world is coming towards us? The ruffling gets louder. Caleb and Eli have now shifted and most of Saudira's men are also in Lycan form. Tumbling out of the foliage, Lucas's Lycan comes rushing in. I raise my hand, letting my guys, and Saudira's, know that it isn't an enemy. Lucas? I ask. Quickly, he shifts to his human form, panting. Noah, "You have to come quickly, it's Vera," he says. The words haven't even processed in my head when I'm already shifting to my Lycan form and sprinting towards the castle. I get there in record time, rounding it so as to avoid the tunnels altogether. They're too small for my Lycan and I need to know what's happened right now. When I approach the entrance, I see a large group of warriors gathered in a circle. In the middle, Violet and Kasia are nursing an injured man. Riker. I take a good look at him. He's injured, his leg being heavily bandaged by Kasia. When he notices me, he locks eyes with me, his gaze telling me everything I need to know. I run. Faster than I have ever run before. I know the route they were taking to get here, I know where to begin looking for Vera. A million scenarios are running through my mind like silent movies, in none of them is Vera dead. I would have felt it, right? According to other Lycans I know that have a fated mate, such a thing as the death of one of them would be felt by the other. I quickly lose track of how many hours I run or how man-miles I am from the castle. I'm desperately willing my sore legs to keep moving faster and faster. Suddenly, I stop. What? I think to myself, looking at the trees before me. It's as if they've been sliced in half, their remains scattered across the ground, making it impossible for me to keep running in this direction. This is the exact path they would have taken. What happened here? I keep walking in this direction, knowing I'm certain to find something, a clue at least, if I keep heading this way. I jump over fallen tree after fallen tree, noting each is getting cut lower and lower. None of it makes sense. What could have caused this? Then, I stop, reaching what seems to be a giant hole on the ground. If it wasn't because us Lycans have such good night vision, I wouldn't have spotted it and I would have fallen in it. It looks like a crater. I stare down, trying to figure out what's inside it, when I hear a loud grunt. Without thinking, I jump in, sliding through the ground and elevating a mountain of dust behind me. When I reach the bottom, the grunt gets louder. Guided by the sound, I move within the massive hole. Noah! I hear someone croak. I immediately shift to my human form. Ezra! I say, recognizing the voice. I find him buried in the rubble and quickly remove a tree trunk from his chest. I briskly look at him, evaluating his injuries. There are bruises all over him, and judging by the way his legs are placed, it's safe to say they're broken. Where's Vera? I ask. Ezra looks at me, regretful. They took her, he says. They who? I don't know who they were, I only recognized one of them, he looks grim, it was Harriet. And just like that, something inside me just snaps. I turn into my Lycan once again, compulsively, and let out a deep, guttural howl. Vera, the first thing I notice as the fog of unconsciousness starts lifting off of me, is that I'm excruciatingly sore. I try to open my eyes, but they're too heavy. I try lifting my fingers and moving my toes, but this simple task seems monumental. I try to grunt, but my throat is too dry, I don't even have saliva to swallow. I must be dehydrated. I try to focus on my other senses since I can't yet open my eyes to see my surroundings. I know that whatever I'm lying on is hard and cold, like stone. Wherever I'm at has to be some type of cave or somewhere underground where there isn't any ventilation, there is an intense smell of must and no airflow. I can feel my hair sticking to my forehead, which also means that it's quite humid. Once again, I try to move my fingers. Mistress, she seems to be waking up, I hear a voice. I freeze. This is a voice I recognize. Harriet. Is that so? I hear a deep, elegant voice in the distance. I mean, she could just be twitchy, she could be having a nightmare, I hear another feminine, but childish voice. Someone else chuckles. When she wakes up, she's going to wish that nightmare was real, someone else says, a man, sounding cheery. I remain still, not giving away that I've regained consciousness as I'm unsure if I'd even be able to stand up by myself at this point, much less fight these people off. A million scenarios are running through my head, but the one I fear the most is the one I'm probably in, judging by the ringing in my ears. Harriet had said mistress, and I'm almost certain she means the witch mother. After all, Mehra had also called her mistress all those months ago. My heartbeat becomes slightly elevated as adrenaline starts pumping into it. If I had more energy, this would be a fight or flight situation, but I'm not in any condition to do either. I try to reach my wolf to check on her, but she's nowhere to be found. She must also be hurt somehow. Slowly, memories of what happened start coming to me. The slashing of the trees, me trying to save the guys by making the ground collapse beneath them, passing out and someone taking me. I now can safely assume it was Harriet. I didn't recognize it then, but I smelled her back in the forest right before I became unconscious. My senses become sharper the more I regain consciousness. The problem is, to actually know where I am and how many people are here with me, I'll have to open my eyes. If I do it now, it will undoubtedly give me away. After what feels like an eternity, the elegant voice at the end of the room finally speaks again. Well, it seems like we had no luck today either. If she doesn't wake up by tomorrow, we'll have to use more extreme measures. Slowly, I hear the shuffling of feet and the shutting of what seems to be a large, metal door as it frictions against stone. Did she say today either? How long have I been out? When I'm sure I'm alone, I finally open my eyes. I do my best to gauge my surroundings. I'm now sure that I'm in some form of stone cell. It's cold, it's humid, and I'm also dressed in some form of thin robe. Turning my head to a side, I can now see the outside of my cell. I start shivering, and not because I'm cold. From what little I can see, this looks like the same place that I saw in my vision of the Witch Mother, that horrendous place where she tried for decades to create spirit wolves. There's a large, black cauldron in the middle with a live flame right beneath it. There are also several gruesome hooks hanging for the ceiling. I take a long look at the heavy, metal bars that guard my cell. They seem old and heavy, all in all, impenetrable. If I'm going to escape, I'm going to have to do it once they take me out of the cell, if they even do. My eyes wander to my next obstacle though, that huge, metal door at the exit of the room. Not only will I have to outrun these people in my state, it'll also have to be when that door is wide open. And even then, I have no idea what I'll be met with outside. Guards? Warriors? A maze? I try to gulp, but I can't. I'm parched. Once again, I try to reach my wolf. The only other alternative to that impossible escape plan is to fight the witch mother and everyone else here. Again, however, she's nowhere to be found. Slowly, I again try to move my limbs. It takes me some time, but after a while, I can finally move my fingers. Then, my feet. Taking my time, I try to incorporate myself to a sitting position. As my strength returns, so too does my mobility. Now that I'm in a sitting position, I take my time to really take in everything around me. The space is quite large now that I'm looking at it. There are several cells just like mine, but I seem to be the only prisoner. Looking up at the walls, floor, and cells, I realize that I am in fact in the Witch Mother's castle. This is the same place from my vision, if only Goddess knows how many centuries older and run down. I feel a tiny surge of hope, knowing that if I do manage to get through those doors, I may be able to make my way outside. Suddenly, my wolf comes just to the surface. I close my eyes and look at her. "Hey, girl," I tell her, putting my hand on her cheek, "how are you holding up?" She simply stares at me, her gaze unreadable. I frown. We have never really automatically understood each other, but she has always at least tried to communicate with me. This time, she just keeps staring at me. "What's wrong?" I ask her, letting go of her face. I take a few steps back, trying to decipher her stare and stance. The hairs on her nape are raised and she seems afraid. Then, her gaze lowers to my stomach. My frown deepens, not understanding what she's doing at all or what she means. When her eyes meet mine again, however, I gasp. "There's no way!" I whisper. She walks the few steps that I put between us and gently lowers her snout to my belly. When I open my eyes again, my hand flies to my stomach protectively as I look at it. My heart starts beating faster, dread settling in my gut. If she's right, it's not only me I have to worry about now. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.